in 5 people here in Brighton use cocaine, according to a recent survey. While police here have caught some local dealers, the drug lords who bring more than 100 tonnes to the UK each year has so far proved to be largely elusive.
Drugs have always been present in Brighton all the time I've lived here. There's always been an active nightlife, and I think that it's always had a reputation for being a great place to live and a great place to party and a great place to be. And inevitably people are using drugs alongside that. There's been high levels of drug-related deaths for a long time, but the demand for drugs is still there.
Some of the most frightening narco barons are from Albanian gangs who've been pursuing a murderous campaign to seize the distribution of cocaine both in Europe and from the South American cartels.
Especially where Albanians are concerned. They've got their tentacles all over Europe, all over South America. They're well organised and they're not afraid to be ruthless and violent when they need to be.
Many of those who use the drug here in this popular coastal resort an hour or so from London will see it as a harmless high without realising its connection to criminals. The same criminals who also deal in assassination, corruption, prostitution, money laundering and people smuggling. We lay bare the true cost of that harmless fix as we travel 6,000 miles to the small South American country of Ecuador to show those paying that price and reveal how the ferocious rise of the Albanian Narcos is terrorising ordinary people around the world. This is Quito, the capital of Ecuador, one of the smallest countries in South America, also sadly for its people, a country which has been riven by crime, murder and drug trafficking. Like a lot of countries engulfed in crime, there was a very dangerous and sinister side to life here. Parts of it very dangerous indeed, and Guayaquil is now regarded as one of the 50 most dangerous cities in the world. And there were certainly parts of that city where we were warned that it was just too dangerous to visit, and even the police said they would not come with us because it was too dangerous for them. We're on the river, the southern city of Guayaquil. This river connects to the ports where the smugglers operate in a variety of ways. At night time, they climb up the side of big container ships, open the containers and put their product, cocaine, into it to be transported to Europe. Another way is for these houses which border this river. The local people leave drugs outside their houses at night for smugglers to come along and take it to the big container ships at night. My investigations have revealed that there are corrupt staff in the container ports who are willing to turn a blind eye, switch a surveillance camera off to allow the smugglers to get their product into the containers.
Captain Pablo Pazmino, an officer in the Coast Guard section of the Ecuadorian Navy, explained how the combination of local poverty and favourable topography helped make this a hub for the international drugs trade. You're hearing the voice of a translator.
So this area is called Cristo del Consuelo. This is the reality in here in Guayaquil for the poor people. This is how they live. So in order for them to live, because they don't have any type of jobs, they do illicit things. They get pursued to this type of illegal micro-narco traffic because they need the money. They leave little sacks of drugs on the windows and the doors in here, so they can take that in the little ships and they take that to the Golfo. There's no control actually. They can manage to see or to have any kind of security because all of these places have access to the sea. Okay, they are just making an inspection. to see that everything they're doing is not illicit or illegal. This is the private port. So this is the process of illicit activities. They get close at very, very high speed and they throw the hook and it has a stair on it and this is how they climb.
How much drugs can they get on in one hook?
Half ton of it. And they put that drug in one container and they throw themselves to the sea.
I'm in a family restaurant, The Grilling, in Guayaquil, tourist area here. It's in this restaurant on a Saturday afternoon. Families around, enjoying their time, enjoying their lunches, dinners. That an assassin came in and at point blank range used a gun hidden with a bouquet of roses to murder in cold blood a notorious Albanian drug lord called Darshi. Looking around this restaurant now, I can only imagine the horror of the people who were here when that man was assassinated. Shows you the lengths, the brutality that people will go to settle feuds amongst the drug traffickers in Ecuador. TV news reporting at the scene conveys the shock that violence like this has spilled from the poor areas of this troubled city, the very heart of the business and tourist districts. But this is an international drug-dealing war, and the Albanian victim here is directly responsible for the drugs sold on the streets of the UK and Europe. In chilling footage from inside the restaurant, forensics officers gather evidence and the chaos that unfolded is revealed. Chairs overturned, tables abandoned as the gunman opened fire. Dashi's body lies face down in a pool of his own blood, his gangland tattoo clearly visible. But watch the video again. Look away from the act of brutality and instead at the panic of the innocents caught up in this gangland hit. Keep a close eye on the couple at the front of the scene. The man in blue sees the gunman shoot and makes a quick getaway along with others. His companion, though, is left cowering. She hides under the table and then, using it for cover, crawls away to the right. Nobody expected this here. Saturday night horror in Guayaquil. It's not only gang members who are caught in the crossfire. Lawyers, judges, journalists, prison officials and police chiefs. Anyone who gets in the way of the cartels is targeted. The way things work here seems to be, if you can't bribe them, kill them. It was here, outside the state prosecutor's office, that Edgar Escobar, the senior well-known prosecutor who was taking on the Mafia, drug smugglers, Albanians, fighting for control of the cocaine market, that he was murdered in cold blood on his way to work. And his body was found just here. Horrific scene for commuters. And it's really something which now I'm beginning to understand the level of brutality here, because during my inquiries, I discovered that judges have been receiving funeral bouquets in the post. And a letter listing the price of contract killings for judges, police officers, state prosecutors and lawyers was left at a prosecution office as well. Sadly, Edgar Escobar is just one name on the list of those killed. The number murdered has left opposition politicians to wonder who really is in control of the state, the government and law enforcement, or the cartels and their assassins. A new report by a congressman in Ecuador has revealed how the Albanian Mafia started arriving in the country more than a decade ago and now wields enormous power there, using corrupt officials, violence and bribery. According to the report, Albanian gangsters living in Ecuador are suspected of having links with leading political figures in the country. This is the horrifying reality of a country under the grip of the multi-billion-dollar narcotics trade. It's so easy to access guns here from across the border in Colombia or Peru. And what's evident from my inquiries is that the price of a contract killing is so cheap. Life is cheap here. But who are the kingpins controlling the flow of drugs to Europe? According to sources, many Albanian narcos use front companies as cover for their crimes. One of the most ruthless mafia figures is one-time law student Dritan Rexepi, a man who's said to have escaped prison more often than notorious ex-Mexican cartel leader El Chapo. He's wanted in Albania, Italy and Belgium, and has also appeared on Scotland Yard's most wanted list. A dramatic moment during our investigation was when a member of the notorious Latin Kings mob broke the Mafia code of silence to reveal how they work with Albanian narcos to supply cocaine abroad. We've called in Junior to protect him, and he gave us a terrifying insight into how Albanian drug gangs work, from corruption in ports to hitman schools where children as young as 12 are taught to kill. Locals can receive life-changing sums of money to do the gang's dirty work. Fishermen can earn between $100 and $150 per catch, but the drug gangs offer them a year's money for just one trip. None of the fishermen will talk to us on camera. They tell us they're scared of the gangs, and they have no confidence in the authorities protecting them. The workers here can be used to smuggle fuel to other traffickers along the 1,300-mile coastline. Sometimes they're recruited to carry the drugs themselves out to international waters, where bigger boats will move the cargo to large container ships heading for the UK, Europe and the United States. Ecuador is a country nestled between the cocaine-producing countries of Colombia and Peru. Much of the Colombian drug production is thought to come through this country. Law enforcement here is outmanned, outgunned, and has a fraction of the cash the international cartels can spend. Salinas is the country's largest beach resort. Today, along the tourist beachfront, security is tight. The nearby roads are blocked and armed officers stand guard, ready to use their assault rifles. What we're witnessing is one rare success for the authorities: the interception of narcotics on a small fishing boat. And the fear is the cartels might want their drugs back. The Ecuadorian Coast Guard caught the vessel 160 miles from land. It seems that the temptation of $40,000 was too much to resist for two fishermen. It's been a dramatic day off the coast of Ecuador. Police and the authorities here have seized 1 ton of cocaine, worth about $20 million US on the streets of America, in a raid on a small vessel which was taking the cocaine to a much larger ship. It was intercepted as a result of intelligence that the authorities here received.
El día de hoy, en aguas internacionales, se procedió a realizar un operativo.
They want to publicise this big seizure and send a message to the criminal gangs involved in exporting drugs to Europe, to America, to the United States, that we are on your case. There you can see the 2 arrested suspects, 2 fishermen, local men, Ecuadorians, who were on the small launch and the drugs were seized. Intelligence-led operation by the police, Coast Guard involved, military. Real coup for the authorities here. This man been brought up here. One of the suspects, if he's convicted, he's expected to be in jail for 15 or 20 years. Just count these bags. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Goodness. Maybe 20 already. It's not until you see a catch like this stacked up in front of you that you begin to realise the sheer scale of the operations employed by the smugglers. In 2019, the National Crime Agency, Britain's equivalent of the FBI, assessed that Britain's consumed 117 tonnes of cocaine each year. That would be more than 2 of these shipments a week. For comparison, in the UK, we also eat over 800,000 tonnes of bananas a year. So perhaps a few hundred tonnes of cocaine isn't that hard to hide. Of course, Britain isn't the only market for these drugs. There's Europe and America too. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime says that production in Colombia may have risen by 14%, setting a new record since their monitoring began more than 20 years ago. They estimate 500,000 acres were used for coca plantations in 2022. That's not far off the size of Greater London and Greater Manchester added together. But as these two fishermen are escorted towards their fate, the bosses who employ them are still out there, producing, smuggling, selling. Our investigation suggests that a key figure in the cocaine trade in Brighton is a London-based Albanian drugs lord known simply by a single initial. One former cocaine addict who spoke to us described a worryingly slick operation where you could get a gram brought to your house quicker than a pizza from Deliveroo. During our investigation, we approached Sussex Police Force, but they declined to answer questions about Albanian drug gangs operating in Brighton.
Accepted wisdom is that you need to go after the money that they make and after the possessions that they cherish. Seizing huge amounts of drugs on their own without the people behind it is not where they should be. They need to be actually targeting the people who are driving the organised crime groups and the lieutenants and the people that work for them, and arresting people with the consignments, because drugs on their own don't commit the crime. It's the people behind them that you need to be targeting.
And in your opinion, that's not happening at the moment?
Well, it's so much, clearly something isn't working, because the UK is awash with drugs. It's awash with cocaine. The methodologies that are being employed don't seem to be effective enough. So it needs an overhaul and a review, in my view.
While it's clear that cocaine is freely available across the country, what may not be so obvious is that it's a dangerous drug. And it's a growing problem. According to official figures, there were 840 cocaine-related deaths in the UK in 2021, 7 times more than a decade earlier.
Those who work with addicts would tell you that beyond the so-called glamour of cocaine use lies squalor, with the drug ruining lives and livelihoods. Mike Pattinson is a drugs expert from Brighton. I spoke to him about this pernicious trade.
There are people who are exploited at every stage of the supply chain because it's controlled within an illegal market. So whether that's people, the producers at source, whether that's the people being forced into the sale of drugs here, there is exploitation that is part and parcel of a market that has been handed over to organised crime. I mean, we've had a 50-year supposed war on drugs that is clearly unwinnable. Yes. People have always taken mind-altering substances, and I don't think that's going to stop.
The dangerous tentacles of Albanian organised crime are spreading at an alarming rate, leaving bloodshed in their wake. It's a story that, if better known, might make casual consumers of cocaine here on the south coast stop and think before they continue to fund it. But many of those in government and law enforcement here might also want to take note, because as we found, the Albanian narcos are ruthless in their pursuit of power and money.